So, getting into the Jewish history, your Jewish roots and your Christianity, I would say you'd have to go back to the Maccabees and find out all about the the Mishnah and the oral law, and how the oral law and the tradition had been handed down by these people or these things called Zugot. Zugot means a pair, a Zugot or Zugot. But anyway, there were these pairs of teachers that came down that had become the Jewish authority on the law. Around this time, it was Simon Thassi or Simon Maccabeus of the Hasmonean dynasty, and you'll have to look this up. You'll have to start digging in history to find out who these people were. But basically, this is when there was the idea of faith in God and faith in the law, and the real sects of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and what had happened with the whole idea of following the Mishnah and halakhic law, the halakha, all was being handed down generation to generation to this guy named Gamaliel. Now, these Zugot were pairs of people. There was a Nasi, and a Nasi was the leader or president. And this is where we get the idea of a Beis Din or a Bet Din. That's the Jewish councils. The Beis Din Hagadol. What are all these terms? Well, Gamaliel had been the Nasi, or the head of this, and we know that Paul was like one of Gamaliel's students, but he had abandoned Judaism. But we know that Gamaliel was almost like, well, if this sect is anything, well, then it'll have roots. But if it's nothing, it will fall apart. I'm giving you stuff that you probably never heard of. And it's said that his son, Gamaliel's son, converted to Christianity. This is really big. So who were these people? Who were the Zugot? Was James part of the Zugot, where Jesus was the head? It was the Nasi, and James was the second teacher. Did Peter take over that spot? If we're talking about the Pharisees taking over Christianity, they would have had this mindset of what's called a Zugot. In other words, a dual mindset of a leader and his vice president, so to speak. And so there's a lot of cloud out there in Christianity and in Jewish history as to the ending of the Zugot, which happened in the Bar Chachma or Ben Chosiva revolt. And we have to look at this teacher named Akiva. Who was Akiva? Well, he was a very instrumental in the oral law that we have, and had been almost like where Christianity or Jewish Christianity was accepting Jesus as Messiah. This side of Christianity was not accepting Jesus as Messiah. They were going after Ben Chochma, and all this kind of happened. And then all of a sudden there was something happened where James the Just was executed because he didn't follow the law. And it's like, well, what law? Jewish law? Which Jewish law? The Jewish law that didn't accept Jesus was Messiah? Some people say it was Paul that had James executed. You see, it's all shrouded in mystery, but to start taking it apart and looking at it, you can get a clue or an idea that the Jewish people were given their Messiah, and then they went to look to his brother. It looks like as the Zugot, or the next in line, and then he was basically executed by those who embraced Ben Chochma, and then the temple was destroyed in the Jewish revolt, Okay, when Caligula, I believe, was the head of Rome, and destroyed the temple. And this is when the Jews had completely gotten rid of Messianic Judaism that had to do with Jesus, but was going after Ben Chokhmah as being the Messiah. This is when the temple fell. This looks as if it's the time when the Jews had totally rejected Messiah, and they wanted to go back to Jewish law completely. All of these things, the Mishnah, Gamaliel, Paul the Apostle, Ben Chokhmah, all of these people are players. And you see, if anybody knows anything, or anybody wants to know anything about the Bible at all, they really need to look at who these people are. Take care.